Life is a battlefield, my friends, and on this battlefield, your greatest enemy isn't out there. It's right here inside your own mind. Your emotions, those fickle, unpredictable forces that can lift you to the heights of ecstasy or plunge you into the depths of despair. But I'm here to tell you something that might shock you. It's time to shut them down. Now, I know what you're thinking. Shut down my emotions. That sounds cold, heartless even. But let me ask you this. How many times have your emotions led you astray? How many opportunities have you missed because fear held you back? How many relationships have soured because anger got the best of you? How many dreams have withered on the vine because doubt crept in and strangled your ambition? You see, emotions are like fire. In small, controlled doses, they can warm you, motivate you, even inspire you. But let them run wild, and they'll burn your whole life to the ground. And in today's world, where everything moves at the speed of light, where opportunities come and go in the blink of an eye, you can't afford to let your emotions call the shots. So today we're going to talk about how to shut down your emotions. Not permanently, mind you. We're not trying to turn you into robots, but we're going to learn how to control them, how to channel them, how to use them as tools rather than letting them use us. First things first. Our awareness. You can't control what you don't understand. Start paying attention to your emotional responses. When do they flare up? What triggers them? Are there patterns? Keep a journal if you have to. Write down every time you feel a strong emotion, what caused it and how you reacted. After a week or two, you'll start to see patterns. And patterns, my friends, can be predicted and controlled. Now, once you've identified your emotional triggers, it's time to start building some defenses. Think of it like building a dam. You're not trying to stop the flow of water completely. That would be impossible and, frankly, disastrous. Instead, you're creating a structure that allows you to control the flow, to direct it where you want it to go. One of the most powerful tools in your emotional control arsenal is what I call the pause button. When you feel an emotion starting to take over, hit that pause button. Take a deep breath, count to 10. Do whatever you need to do to create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your power, your freedom to choose how you react. Remember, emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, and then they fall. If you can learn to ride out that wave without acting on it, you'll find that most emotional storms pass quicker than you'd expect. It's when we feed our emotions, when we let them dictate our actions, that they grow stronger and last longer. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Far from it. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But I promise you, it's also one of the most rewarding. Imagine being able to stay calm and focused in the face of adversity. Imagine being able to make decisions based on logic and reason rather than fear or anger. Imagine being able to pursue your goals without doubt or insecurity holding you back. That's the power of emotional control. That's what we're working towards. But let's get practical. How do we actually do this in our day-to-day lives? Well, let me share with you some strategies that have worked for me and for countless others I've had the privilege of teaching over the years. First, start your day right. Your morning sets the tone for the entire day. Develop a morning routine that centers you, that prepares you mentally and emotionally for the challenges ahead. For me, that means waking up early, spending some time in quiet reflection, maybe reading a few pages of an inspiring book. Find what works for you. Maybe it's exercise or meditation or prayer. Whatever it is, make it a non-negotiable part of your day. Next, practice mindfulness. This is a buzzword these days, but there's a reason for that. It works. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being present in the moment, of observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's like watching clouds pass across the sky. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you don't try to hold on to them or push them away. They simply come and go. When you practice mindfulness, you start to realize that you are not your thoughts or your emotions. They are simply experiences that you're having. And once you realize that, they start to lose their power over you. Another powerful tool is reframing. This is the practice of looking at situations from different perspectives. When something happens that triggers a negative emotion, ask yourself, Is there another way to look at this? What might I be missing? What opportunity might be hiding in this challenge? For example, let's say you lose your job. Your first emotional response might be fear, anger, despair. But what if you reframed it? What if you saw it as an opportunity to pursue the dream career you've always wanted? What if you saw it as a chance to start your own business? Suddenly, that negative event becomes a springboard for positive change. Now, and I want to talk about something that might seem counterintuitive when we're discussing shutting down emotions, the importance of emotional intelligence. You see, shutting down your emotions doesn't mean ignoring them or pretending they don't exist. It means understanding them, respecting their power, and then choosing how to respond to them. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. It's a crucial skill in both personal and professional life. And here's the kicker. The better you get at understanding and managing your emotions, the less. So how do we develop emotional intelligence? It starts with self-awareness, which we've already talked about, but it goes beyond that. It involves developing empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It involves learning to communicate effectively, to express your thoughts and feelings in a way that others can understand and relate to. One exercise I often recommend is what I call the emotion audit. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on the emotions you experienced. What triggered them? How did you respond? Were your responses helpful or harmful? Over time, this practice will help you become more aware of your emotional patterns and give you more control over them. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Stress. In today's fast-paced world, stress is almost inevitable. But here's the thing, stress itself isn't the enemy. It's our response to stress that causes problems. When we let stress trigger negative emotions like anxiety or anger, that's when it starts to impact our health, our relationships, our performance. So how do we deal with stress without letting it trigger an emotional meltdown? First, we need to change our relationship with stress. Instead of seeing it as a threat, try to see it as a challenge. Your body's stress response, increased heart rate, heightened alertness, is actually designed to help you perform better in challenging situations. If you can learn to embrace that response rather than fight it, you'll find that you can handle stress much more effectively. Second, develop stress management techniques that work for you. This might be physical exercise, deep breathing exercises, or simply taking regular breaks throughout the day. The key is to find what works for you and make it a regular part of your routine. Remember, managing your emotions isn't about never feeling stressed or never experiencing negative emotions. It's about being able to navigate those experiences without letting them derail you. Now, let's talk about goals. Setting and pursuing goals is one of the most powerful ways to take control of your emotional life. Why? Because goals give you direction, they give you purpose. And when you have a clear purpose, it's much easier to keep your emotions in check. Think about it. When you're working towards something meaningful, those little emotional upheavals that might normally throw you off course suddenly seem a lot less important. You're focused on the bigger picture, on where you're going, rather than on the obstacles in your path. But here's the thing about goals. They need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. In other words, they need to be SMART goals. Vague goals like I want to be successful or I want to be happy aren't enough. They don't give you a clear path forward, and they don't give you a way to measure your progress. Instead, set specific goals. I wanted to increase my income by 20 this year. I want to read one book a week for the next 3 months. I want to run a marathon by the end of the year. These are goals you can work towards, goals you can measure your progress against. And here's another important point about goals. Write them down. There's something powerful about putting your goals on paper. It makes them real. It makes them tangible. Keep your written goals somewhere you can see them every day. Let them be a constant reminder of where you're going and why you're doing what you're doing. Now, as you work towards your goals, you're going to face setbacks. That's just part of life. And this is where emotional control becomes crucial, because how you respond to those setbacks will determine whether you ultimately succeed or fail. When you face a setback, your first emotional response might be disappointment, frustration, maybe even anger. And that's okay. Remember, we're not trying to eliminate emotions entirely. But here's where you need to hit that pause button we talked about earlier. Take a step back. Look at the setback objectively. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to get better, to get stronger? This is what I call the failure as feedback mindset. Instead of seeing failure as a reflection of your worth or your abilities, see it as valuable information. It's telling you what doesn't work, which means you're one step closer to finding out what does work. And speaking of what works, let's talk about habits. Your habits, more than anything else, determine your success in life. They're the small daily actions that, over time, shape your character and your destiny. When it comes to emotional control, developing the right habits is crucial. We've already talked about some of them: mindfulness, reframing, setting goals. But I want to emphasize how important it is to make these practices habitual. You see, willpower is a finite resource. If you have to consciously decide to control your emotions every time you face a challenging situation, you're going to exhaust yourself. But if you can make emotional control a habit, something you do automatically without even thinking about it, that's when you'll really start to see changes in your life. So how do you develop these habits? It starts with consistency. Choose one practice, let's say mindfulness, and commit to doing it every day for 30 days. It doesn't have to be for long. Even 5 minutes a day is enough to start. The key is to do it every single day, no matter what. After 30 days, add another practice. Maybe it's journaling, or exercise, or reading inspirational material. Again, commit to doing it every day for 30 days. Gradually, you'll build a suite of habits that support your emotional control. Now, I want to talk about something that might seem a bit out of place in a discussion about shutting down emotions. Relationships, you might be thinking, aren't relationships all about emotions? Well, yes and no. Healthy relationships certainly involve emotional connection, but they also require emotional control. Think about it. How many relationships have been damaged or destroyed because of unchecked emotions? How many harsh words have been said in the heat of anger? How many opportunities for connection have been missed because of fear or insecurity? When you learn to control your emotions, you become a better partner, a better friend, a better colleague. You're able to listen without immediately reacting. You're able to communicate your needs and feelings clearly and calmly. You're able to handle conflicts constructively rather than destructively. But here's the really interesting thing. As you develop better emotional control, you'll likely find that your relationships actually become more emotionally fulfilling. Why? Because you're no longer at the mercy of your emotional reactions. You're able to choose how you want to feel and how you want to respond in any given situation. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. Far from it. It means being able to choose when to open your heart, when to show vulnerability, when to express love and affection. And it means being able to do all of this from a place of strength and self-control rather than neediness or desperation. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked when it comes to emotional control: your physical health. Your mind and body are intimately connected. When you're tired, hungry, or in poor physical health, it's much harder to control your emotions. So part of shutting down your emotions involves taking care of your physical health. This means getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, and exercising regularly. It means avoiding excessive alcohol and staying away from drugs. It means taking time to relax and recharge. Think of your body as the vehicle that carries your mind and emotions. If you don't maintain that vehicle, if you don't give it the fuel it needs, how can you expect it to perform at its best? Now, I know some of you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I'm just not wired that way. I'm an emotional person. That's just who I am. Well, let me tell you something. That's a limiting belief, and limiting beliefs are just another form of emotional baggage that we need to let go of. You see, your personality is not set in stone. Your emotional responses are not predetermined. They're habits patterns that you've developed over time. And just like any habit, they can be changed. It takes work, it takes commitment, but it is absolutely possible. I've seen it happen countless times. I've seen people who thought they were destined to be controlled by their emotions learn to take charge of their emotional lives. I've seen angry people become calm, anxious people become confident, depressed people become joyful. And here's the thing. When you learn to control your emotions, when you learn to shut them down when they're not serving you, you don't become less of who you are. You become more. You become the best version of yourself, the version that's not held back by fear or anger or doubt. You become the captain of your own ship, the master of your own destiny. You're no longer blown about by every emotional wind that comes your way. Instead, you're able to chart your own course, to steer towards your goals regardless of the emotional weather. And let me tell you, there's no feeling quite like it. The sense of power, of control, of freedom that comes when you're no longer at the mercy of your emotions. It's truly life-changing. But here's the catch. It doesn't happen overnight. Emotional control is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. You're going to have setbacks. There will be days when your emotions get the better of you. And that's okay. Remember, we're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for progress. The key is to not let those setbacks discourage you. When you slip up, when you let your emotions take control, don't beat yourself up about it. Instead, see it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what triggered this emotional response? How could I have handled it differently? What can I do better next time? And then, most importantly, get back on track. Don't let one slip-up derail your entire journey. Remember, every moment is a new opportunity to practice emotional control. Now, as we start to wrap up, I wanted to address something important. Some of you might be wondering, if I shut down my emotions, if I learn to control them, does that mean I'll never feel joy or excitement or love? Does it mean I'll become some kind of emotionless robot? Absolutely not. Shutting down your emotions doesn't mean eliminating them. It means being in control of them rather than letting them control you. It means being able to choose when to express emotion and when to rein it in. It means being able to experience the full range of human emotions without being overwhelmed by them. In fact, many people find that as they gain more control over their emotions, they're actually able to experience positive emotions more fully. Why? Because they're no longer held back by fear or anxiety. They're able to open themselves up to joy and love without the fear of being hurt. And here's another important point. Emotional control isn't just about managing negative emotions. It's also about being able to generate positive emotions when you need them. It's about being able to motivate yourself, to inspire yourself, to lift yourself up when times are tough. Think about the most successful people you know. The ones who seem to thrive no matter what life throws at them. I guarantee you, they've mastered the art of emotional control. They know how to stay calm under pressure, how to keep pushing forward when things get tough, how to inspire and motivate themselves and others. That's what we're aiming for here. Not a life devoid of emotion, but a life where you're in charge of your emotions. A life where you can use your emotions as tools to help you achieve your goals rather than obstacles that hold you back. So as we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to commit to practicing emotional control. Start with the basics we've discussed. Start with the basics we've discussed. Mindfulness, the pause button, reframing. Every day, take a few minutes to check in with your emotions. When you feel a strong emotion coming on, practice hitting that pause button. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and choose your response. Keep a journal of your progress. Write down the situations that trigger strong emotions, how you responded, and what you learned from the experience. At the end of the 30 days, look back over your journal. I guarantee you'll see progress. And remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. You're not going to master emotional control overnight, but every day that you practice, every time you choose your response rather than reacting automatically, you're getting strong. You're building that emotional control muscle. Now, I want to share with you a little secret, something that's helped me enormously in my own journey of emotional control. It's the power of visualization. You see, your mind doesn't always know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. When you visualize yourself handling a situation calmly and confidently, you're actually training your brain to respond that way in real life. So here's what I want you to do. Every night before you go to bed, take a few minutes to visualize yourself facing a challenging situation. Maybe it's a difficult conversation with your boss, or a presentation you're nervous about, or a personal conflict you need to resolve. See yourself handling that situation with calmness, confidence, and emotional control. See yourself pausing before you respond, choosing your words carefully, staying focused on your goals. Do this every night, and you'll be amazed at how it starts to affect your behavior in real life. You'll find yourself naturally responding to challenges with more control, more poise, more confidence. Now let's talk about the incredible power of gratitude in emotional control. You might be wondering, what does gratitude have to do with shutting down emotions? Well, let me tell you, it has everything to do with it. You see, gratitude is like an emotional reset button. When you're feeling stressed, anxious, angry, or any other negative emotion, taking a moment to focus on what you're grateful for can completely shift your emotional state. It's not just feel-good nonsense either. There's real science behind this. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can lower stress levels, improve sleep, boost immune function, and even increase happiness and life satisfaction. So here's what I want you to do. Every morning when you wake up, before you do anything else, think of 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you're grateful for the comfortable bed you slept in, or the cup of coffee you're about to enjoy, or the fact that you have another day to work towards your goals. Do this every day, and you'll start to notice a shift in your overall emotional state. You'll find it easier to stay positive, easier to control those negative emotions when they arise. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about emotional control. Some people worry that by controlling their emotions, by not expressing everything they feel, they're being inauthentic or dishonest. Nothing could be further from the truth. Being in control of your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It means choosing how and when to express them in a way that serves you and those around you. Think about it this way. If you're in an important business meeting and someone says something that makes you angry, is it more authentic to fly off the handle and start yelling, or to acknowledge your anger internally? Take a deep breath and respond in a calm and professional manner. True authenticity isn't about letting your emotions run wild. It's about being true to your values, your goals, and your best self. Sometimes that means expressing your emotions openly. Other times, it means controlling them and choosing a more measured response. The key is to always be honest with yourself about what you're feeling. Acknowledge your emotions, understand where they're coming from, but don't let them dictate your actions. Now, let's talk about the role of purpose in emotional control. When you have a strong sense of purpose, when you're working towards something bigger than yourself, it becomes much easier to control your emotions. Why? Because purpose gives you perspective. When you're focused on a greater goal, those little emotional triggers that might normally set you off suddenly seem a lot less important. You're able to ask yourself, is reacting to this emotion going to help me achieve my purpose? Or is it going to distract me from what really matters? So if you're struggling with emotional control, one of the most powerful things you can do is to clarify your purpose. What are you working towards? What do you want to achieve in your life? What impact do you want to have on the world? Take some time to really think about these questions. Write down your answers. Make them as specific and vivid as possible. And then every time you feel your emotions starting to take control, remind yourself of your purpose. Ask yourself, is this emotional reaction going to help me fulfill my purpose, or is it going to hold me back? You'll be amazed at how much easier it becomes to control your emotions when you have a clear sense of why you're doing it. Now, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked when it comes to emotional control. The power of your environment. You see, we're all influenced by our surroundings, whether we realize it or not. The people we spend time with, the media we consume, the physical spaces we occupy, all of these things affect our emotional state. So if you're serious about gaining control over your emotions, you need to take a good hard look at your environment. Are you surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people who lift you up, or are you spending time with negative people who drag you down? Are you consuming media that inspires and motivates you, or are you filling your mind with negativity and drama? Is your physical space clean and organized in a way that promotes calm and focus, or is it cluttered and chaotic? Make a conscious effort to create an environment that supports your goal of emotional control. Seek out positive influences, limit your exposure to negativity. Create a physical space that promotes calm and focus. Remember, your environment shapes you. By shaping your environment, you can shape your emotional responses. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to circle back to where we started. Remember, the goal here isn't to become an emotionless robot. The goal is to become the master of your emotions rather than their slave. Emotions are a fundamental part of the human experience. They add color and depth to our lives. They help us connect with others. They motivate us. They warn us of danger. The problem isn't the emotions themselves. It's our tendency to let them control us rather than the other way around. By learning to shut down your emotions when they're not serving you, by gaining control over your emotional responses, you're not diminishing your humanity. You're enhancing it. You're becoming more of who you truly are, more of who you're meant to be. You're becoming someone who can experience the full range of human emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Someone who can feel deeply without losing control. Someone who can navigate the storms of life with calmness and clarity. And let me tell you, that's a powerful place to be. When you're in control of your emotions, you're in control of your life. You're able to make decisions based on what's truly important to you, not just what you're feeling in the moment. You're able to build stronger relationships, achieve your goals, and create the life you truly want. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought. Emotional control is a journey, not a destination. It's something you'll be working on for the rest of your life. There will be ups and downs, successes and setbacks. But every step you take on this journey is a step towards becoming the best version of yourself. Remember, you have the power to choose your responses. You have the power to control your emotions. You have the power to shape your life. So go out there and use that power. Practice emotional control every day. Hit that pause button when you feel your emotions taking over. Reframe negative situations into opportunities for growth. Focus on your purpose. Surround yourself with positivity. And most importantly, believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to master your emotions. Believe in your power to create the life you want. Because when you shut down those emotions that don't serve you, when you take control of your emotional life, there is no limit to what you can achieve.